Hey everybody, coming into you from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I know that this is not Wednesday night. It's a little bit of a different day, a little bit of a different location, but I pray that from Sunday to today, with everything going on, with all that life has sort of given to us the last little bit, I pray that you've found moments, found spaces to really engage in your relationship with others and in your walk with Christ. I want to talk to you today specifically about what was mentioned on Sunday. And really, in all reality, a practical walking out of what that looks like. You see, on Sunday, my brother Jeffrey mentioned something so crucial, and that is where true rest comes from. That true rest is a gift of God and is found in right relationship with Him through His Son, Jesus Christ, through this abiding and walking in step with the Spirit. That as we are walking with God, we know and learn true rest. But here's the challenge. And here's something that I really want to think about. I really want to unpack. I really want us to reflect on, to seek out what that looks like in our lives. Rest seems easy. Peace seems easy. Finding strength seems easy. When nothing of great challenge is occurring. And I want to just acknowledge a reality. Our world, United States, many people have faced very challenging days, have seen very challenging things recently. There are a lot of people now, as I'm speaking, who are troubled for a lot of reasons, that are grieving for a lot of reasons, that are fearful for a lot of reasons, that almost feel a sense of lost security, lost hope for a lot of reasons. But here's one thing that I want to do just in the next few moments. I don't want to add to the voices. I don't want to add to the noise. I actually kind of want to do the opposite. I want to provide a space where we can all kind of just sit and think, where we can all sort of just engage with one another. Because over the past few days, one thing that is true is that there are families, there are friends, there are communities that are mourning the loss of a father, of a husband, of a friend, of a daughter, of a friend, of a coworker. And that's all true. And I want to just, get rid of all the other stuff and just recognize that reality that when people are facing loss, what the church does is comes around and bears with, prays for, loves on, communities and people and in a world that is hurt, a world that is facing loss, a world that is struggling relationally. And what the church also does is provides some comfort, provides truth. If there's going to be a time where we, by the grace of God, point people to the feet of Jesus, it's right now. Because in the grappling with things, in the tragedy, in the hard things that we see, the hope is found in Jesus. You see, Jesus says himself that do not be afraid. Do not be sort of wrapped up or overwhelmed. For he, one, is where peace comes from, where true rest comes from, but also the reality that he has overcome the world, that nothing that happens here changes the final result for all of humanity, for all of the world. But what I want to ask you as we're thinking, and as we're sort of just providing this space to think, to pray, to love, to share, what I want to provide some space for is man, exactly how are you feeling right now? I want you to think about that. Because one thing, unfortunately, as we see, is when hard things happen, there's not really a lot of processing going on. There's not really a lot of healing, restoration that goes on, reconciliation that goes on. There's a lot of sharing. There's a lot of commenting. There's a lot of just being hateful to each other. And in the midst of grief, in the midst of pain, in the midst of hurt, people's natural tendency is just to bash on other people, to make things worse, to spread more fear, to spread more pain, spread more hurtfulness. But here's the reality, stripping everything else away, that there are people that are grieving, that are hurt, that are in pain. Man, I just want to share this space wherever you are, whether you're close to the situation or whether you're far. Man, we love you. We're praying for you. There is hope. There's hope in the midst of the grief. There's hope in the midst of the pain. There's hope in the midst of the hurt. And that hope is found in none other than Jesus Christ alone. This world can kind of stink sometimes. This reality that we live in now, marred by this debt and this reality of sin, this reality of broken relationships, this reality of compounding hurt and compounding loss, it can get tough. But here's also my challenge, is that when it does get tough, what is it that has been anchoring you along the way to this point? You see, I don't want us as a church, I don't want us as believers to simply get in this habit of running to our hope when and only when bad things happen. I want us to be abiding in our hope day in and day out before things ever happen, so that when they do, we're grounded. When they do, we're anchored. When they do, we're filled with truth. We're filled with a sort of rest and a peace. Yes, we are troubled. Yes, we are burdened, but we are able to kind of find a calm and an anchor in the midst of it. And we're not swept up by compounding hurt, compounding frustration, and just throwing darts everywhere. But my good friend said it well, and I want us to keep returning to this point, that true rest, true peace, true strength, true comfort, it comes from God alone. And it's ironic because right now I find myself on vacation, a time away at the beach. And it's funny too, and not really in a comical sense, but shortly after my wife and I got here on vacation, for those of you who don't know, my wife is expecting 20 weeks this week, really exciting time. But shortly after we got here, my wife started experiencing a pain in her back, right where her kidney is. And she, being who she is, the mom that she is, the wife that she is, she was trying to tough it out. And we got to the point where the pain got too intense, and we ended up finding a place, an emergency room here in Myrtle Beach. We were there for a while, a very long time. Got into a room and ended up going home. They wanted to admit us that night, but we wanted to go home and sort of see what things were going to do. Long story short, we got out about 7 yesterday. So this vacation, this time where we went to rest, to sort of pull away for a little bit, have a slower rhythm, she ended up kind of the past few days in the hospital. And so what ended up happening, she had a kidney stone as she did the first pregnancy. Sorry for the noise, the trash is coming right now. But she ended up with a kidney stone, and she ended up going through a procedure called a lithotripsy, which means they just kind of blast the stone. Baby's good, mama's good, but it's ironic. We came to a place where we go to rest, where we go to pull away, have a slower rhythm, and we end up in a situation that is not restful, that is not peaceful, that is not full of a slower rhythm. It's actually full of much, almost not panic, but a little bit of worry, a little bit of unsettling. Sorry, y'all. And you kind of come to the same thing that we're all grappling with together now, is before the things happen and when they do happen. Where has been our anchor before? And what is our anchor now? What is the source of our rest? Do we run to things that we feel like are going to provide rest? Or do we know the one who is our rest? You see, because as has been true for my wife and I here, even when we go to places that we find restful, that we find to be sort of our peace, and then other things happen that sort of in any other circumstance would rob that rest or rob that peace. If those are our sole sources of where we find rejuvenation, where we find a restfulness in general, then man, for us, that's always going to be fleeting. That's always going to be dependent on the quality of the vacation or the quality of the relationship or the quality of whatever it is that we're running to find peace and restfulness. Man, maybe it is sort of the quality of our the status quo of our life, and man, in recent days that has been fleeting. That has been troubling. That has been anything but restful. But if we know beforehand and during where our true rest comes from, then we can ride the waves. We can actually be the ones who are a light in the midst of darkness. That we can be sort of sober-minded in the midst of everything but. And that we can be really the ones who are able to provide that space and that truth when everybody else is clinging to everything else. And that when families and communities are grieving, that we can bear with them. You see, because if we know and are secure in where our rest comes from, that is the only time that we can truly point others to where it comes from. You see, because nobody's going to look into your life and seek where you are finding restfulness and peace and strength if they don't see it. And it's not like we need to manufacture it. The only reason they're not seeing it is because you're not knowing it. And the invitation of Jesus is that you know it. The invitation of God in the beginning is that you would know where rest and peace and strength and comfort, where they come from. Because as you've seen over the past few days, it's not of this world. Love y'all. Sorry for all the coughing and hacking and noise in different setting, but I pray that this has been helpful. I pray that this has just provided a little bit of a calm and truth in the midst of everything that's going on. And I do pray that over the next few days that one, we wouldn't be quick to comment or post or add on, but that we would be able to reflect, that we would be able to engage in the truth of God's word, that we would be ones who are engaged in prayer for everything going on, and that we would be ones who are able to bear with and sit with those who are troubled along the way. God bless. Love y'all. I'll see you again soon.